Alright, we're back again, and I gotta tell you up front that as a small creator, that I didn't expect nearly the turnout I got on my last couple of Crash videos. But I appreciate you all for joining the nostalgia nerds and allowing me to do my content thing with open arms. My Crash 1 retrospective was actually a reading of a very dated script and editing style that I've been working on late last year, and I didn't quite have the time to revise it that I wanted. At the same time, I also knew that if I didn't get those first two Crash videos out, that I would end up procrastinating even more, so I guess I'm glad I did it. Anyway, we're pushing forward into the Crash series today with Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, the piece of the original trilogy that I almost placed below Wrath of Cortex. Jury is still out on that one, so I guess we'll see when I get to the end of this video. Does Cortex Strikes Back deserve that bronze medal? Let's find out. 1996 comes and goes. Sony's officially unofficial mascot tears it up in sales, so, as was expected for the time, we are graced with a sequel.
After a short vacation, Crash is back.
Hey! She did it. I told her not to put that in there.
Step through, sir.
That's odd.
Empty out your pockets.
Huh.
Are you wearing a watch?
Oh, for goodness sake. Every time I come here.
After a short vacation, Crash is back. And this time, he's ready for just about anything.
I am not comfortable with this. Whoa! Hello!
PlayStation.
October 31st, 1997 was the day that Crash Bandicoot 2, Cortex Strikes Back, was officially released on the PlayStation. This made it a hot commodity for the holiday season and once again landed itself a spot in PlayStation's best-selling games of all time. Thanks, Naughty Dog, you're real for that. Now, if only you made good games on a frequent basis in the modern day, but I digress. As in the last video, I'm going to be using clips from both the Insane trilogy and the original game to make my points, starting with the story. We pick up right where we left off last time, with us sufficiently smacking Dr. Cortex's balls back in his face, and rescuing Tawna, who we never really see again, but we'll get there in a moment. Cortex goes falling onto the island below and stumbles across a new power source. We're being introduced to a series staple in the form of crystals. This is the game's main collectible and there's 25 of them in total. Cortex is planning on using the Master Crystal and the 25 Slave Crystals, that's the game's wording, not mine.
Also, the remaining 25 slaves from the surface. How do you expect to retrieve them when we don't have any Earthbound operatives left?
To power up his new and improved Cortex Vortex to mind control everybody on the Earth with the help of his new assistant Dr. N. Jin, who informs Cortex that they have no allies left to help them collect their new power source. Cortex takes this in stride and confidently states that if they have no friends on the surface, they'll just have to find an enemy, alluding to the Doctor's plans to trick Crash into helping him collect the crystals. Meanwhile, on the Wampa Islands, Crash is taking a nap and Coco, who has totally always been a character in the series, it wasn't just a more age-appropriate add-on for younger players, asks Crash to make himself useful and go find a battery for her laptop.
Crash? Crash, my battery is fried.
On this journey, Crash is sucked into a trap that Cortex laid to transport him into the Warp Room, aka the game's updated way to let the player access its 25 levels and 5 boss areas. Cortex lies to Crash, informing him that the alignment of the planets is going to destroy the planet Earth, and that he'll need to bring the crystals to Cortex if he wants to stop its imminent doom. Also contacting Crash is Cortex's former ally, Brio, who warns Crash against bringing the crystals to Cortex and tells him instead to gather gems if he really wants to stop Cortex. Brio also is responsible for the first 3 bosses in the game, claiming that they're a means to stop Crash from collecting crystals for Cortex. Lastly, Coco decides to be worth a damn, unlike someone we know, and tries to call us on AOL using McDonald's Wi-Fi to warn us against helping out Cortex.
You've got mail.
So off we go to traverse each level and collect all the crystals on the island to help, or defeat Cortex, I guess. I'll be honest, storytelling has never really been Crash Bandicoot's strong suit, but I think they did a serviceable job giving us an objective to shoot for and some witty banter to break up the phenomenal platforming journey we're about to embark on. I had no idea what was going on as a kid, but as an adult I can appreciate the balance of plot and action this game provided, and still provides on repeat playthroughs, even if I think it's a little contrived. Okay, so here we go again. Cortex is being an ass, Coco is sitting in grass, and kindergarten me is skipping class to play this awesome game. What do we have that's different from the original and what stayed the same? Let's talk about it. Making its return from the original Crash Bandicoot is the hallway platforming we all know and love. This includes boxes, gems, and Wampa Fruit from the first game. However, we're also granted an abundance of new abilities, enemies, and level themes that range from moving through the jungle to riding on the back of a polar bear, and I don't know why Crash is giving me those eyes. Let's start with the most obvious changes, that being the warp room and, by extension, the save system. As we discussed in the last video, Crash Bandicoot 1 is notorious for its horrible save system that requires you to collect tokens on select levels to get the ability to save. Alternatively, of course, there were the passcodes, but they weren't 100% accurate to your progress. Crash 2 thankfully does away with that save system and lets the player save at will from the comfort of the warp room, which in addition to being a save point is also an immersive way to access the game's levels. In my opinion, this is the perfect way to organize levels in a 3D platformer. I consider Mario 64's paintings to be a close second, with my only gripe being the boot out system that goes hand in hand with those paintings, and the fact that there's no indication of progress on the outside of the paintings to tell you what you have and haven't done. In Crash, each level's portal has a recess for each of the items you can collect in that level. The Warp Room has equal parts magic and science within it, which honestly gives me Is It vibes from Magic the Gathering. Another thing they did away with in this game was the prerequisite for receiving a gem. Obtaining a gem no longer necessitates a deathless run, which means you only have to smash all the boxes in the level if you want that sweet, shiny satisfaction. In the place of this change, the game introduces death routes, which can only be accessed if the player makes it to the death platform without dying. These routes are usually more difficult platforming sections and reward you with a color gem for your efforts. In addition to new collectibles and a new map, we're also given a couple of new moves for our favorite orange boy. The main and most welcome upgrade in my opinion is the addition of the slide move. This can be used in tandem with a jump and a spin to get even more height off your jumps. This also allows advanced players to make corrections should they happen to miss a ledge or a high up area by a few pixels. The slide is mapped to both circle and R1 in this game for the PlayStation version, as opposed to circle being an alternate button for the spin move, like it was in the first game. I would imagine this threw fans of the first game off if they happened to favor the circle button for spinning instead of square, but I can't seem to find anyone affected by the change. Let me know in the comments if you use the circle button to spin in Crash 1. Moving on, the other new move for Crash is the belly flop or the stomp if you're playing as Coco in the Insane trilogy. This move is performed by jumping and then pressing the slide button while in the air. This move is effective for destroying the new metal boxes this game implemented and destroying very specific enemy types. Speaking of enemies, I think Crash Bandicoot 2 has my favorite enemy lineup in the original trilogy. With the new moveset comes a new way to approach each enemy, which adds a layer of difficulty to the game not present in the first one. Some enemies can be defeated by spinning, some by jumping, and others by sliding, but the trial and error nature of it all is what keeps things exciting. I feel like where Crash 1 rewards perfection, Crash 2 rewards curiosity. The ability to try out new things in a less than safe environment really keeps things fresh and thrilling even between levels with similar themes. This is extended to even secret areas and areas you would otherwise never be conditioned to look. For example, this stack of nitro boxes. Now, nitro boxes are a new addition in this game, and you learn as early as level 2 that touching them results in instant death. However, the staircase design of this specific stack is enough to put 2 and 2 together and try to explore it at least once. And if you do, you're rewarded with a secret area. Players love pleasant little surprises like this, especially in platformers, a genre where it isn't always so expected. Things like walking backwards at the start of the level, or killing enemies you once thought to be invincible are other ways to trigger these moments. And god does it feel good. Almost as good as this game's bosses. Speaking of which...
Boss Rush.
Alright everyone, gather round. Welcome back to Boss Rush, where one man's ass is another man's pleasure. Speaking of ass, there's plenty on the chopping block, so let's go get it. First off, we have the Komodo brothers, and Tweedledee and Tweedledick are getting a little dicey. Smack Komodo Joe into Komodo Mo until they hit you with that "what are you doing" step, bro. Next up is Ripperoo 2 Electric Boogaloo, and my man finally got his PhD, but he's about to get hit with the reality of student loans when we're through with him. Dodge his TNT and Nitro tiles, and tell him next time he should get a degree that can handle the neutron style. Third is Tiny Tiger, and he's pissed because he didn't make the cover of Frosted Flakes. Unfortunately, he's about to get applejacked up, because all we have for him are Honey Smacks. Bait this man into falling because he's not part of a balanced breakfast. Our penultimate boss is Cortex's new second-in-command, Engine, and to be honest, Engine is one of my favorite characters. I don't really want to roast him, so... yeah, spit Wampa Fruit out of your face hole to ruin his machine that he worked really hard on, I I hope you feel good about yourself. But this big-headed bitch, how dare you do this to me again? This man is making me chase him through the fallopian tubes to be the first one to the egg, and I'm not fucking having it. That's it. That's all we have to do. Chase him and beat that ass. It's a stupid boss fight. This man is stupid. No, seriously, this is like the worst boss fight in the series. I hate it here. Alright, that concludes our
Boss Rush.
All this circles back to the question I asked at the start of this video. Does this title deserve to be in the spot I put it in on my Crash ranking video? Well, I would say yes. Crash Bandicoot 2 ranking in third on my list is a hard sell for me, and probably an even harder sell for a lot of you guys. It improved on so many things from the original, and I'm sure talking about it in this video makes it sound like I almost prefer it over the original. I love this game both for the way it builds upon its roots and for its exciting secrets that it leaves for the player to find. It's top 3 material for a reason after all. Honestly, what gives it the bronze medal for me is simply the fact that I don't have the same urge to play Crash 2 as I do the other two in the trilogy. It's a lot of fun, but most of my fondest memories are for Crash 1, 3, and Wrath of Cortex. The only thing that gives it the edge over Wrath of Cortex for me is that Wrath of Cortex needed a little more time in the oven, and we'll get there soon enough. I also think that the final boss was a little lackluster, and that this game probably has the weakest vehicle sections in the trilogy. Not bad vehicle sections necessarily, just weak. I prefer the boar to the bear, and that jetpack is a pain in the ass. Doubly so when they have the audacity to put time trials in the remake. Warped and even Wrath of Cortex blow it out of the water when it comes to how many vehicle options there are. Options that are more varied and honestly control more smoothly than what Cortex Strikes Back has to offer. With that being said, I find Crash 2 to be pure platforming fun. I think this game built a strong foundation for all the Crash content after it, and Warped brings all these great ideas to a head. We'll likely be talking about Crash Bandicoot Warped by the end of September, so stay tuned for that. In the meantime, check out my other Crash content, as well as the Replaying series, which covers other games in addition to Crash Bandicoot, such as Crazy Taxi and Tony Hawk's Underground. If you're in a Let's Play mood, then you'll be happy to find that I've been given the go-ahead by the Sphinx community to feature on their channel with my very own Let's Play, which you could find here on the Nostalgia Nate channel or over on their channel. Also, I stream on Twitch, and the links for all these things are in the description below. Until next time guys, have a wonderful time zone and give yourself some much needed love today.